Welcome.
Welcome
Welcome
to SNR
to SNR38
Interlinked.
This is
String Theory.
Hello and welcome back to String Theory, the official SNR38 podcast for this year's show. I am your host, Sarah Jacobs, the Communications Director, and today is all about innovation. If you couldn't tell, we're not in our regular studio today. We are at the beautiful Payne Mansion in upstate New York. This beautiful estate was built in 1905. It is now owned by Marist College, and it is used for the Raymond A. Rich Institute for Leadership Development. We are so grateful and honored to have our very own Marist Red Fox, Leander Trotter, here with us today. Leander graduated in 2019 with a bachelor's degree in fashion design. He even won the Silver Nail Runway Outstanding Collection Award in 2019 during SNR38. Upon graduation, he worked at Abercrombie & Fitch before going to his current position at Andrew Marc Men as an outerwear designer. So Leander, thank you so much for joining us today. For everyone who doesn't know, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your Marist career, your industry career, everything like that?
I graduated Marist 2019. When I went to Marist, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I had declared this path in design because I had an interest in clothes. I had a couple odd high school clothing making projects under my belt, but I was still kind of figuring out what that would look like. Mm-hmm. Through the design program, I discovered that I was really interested in menswear with kind of a focus on military functional design. During my senior year, my senior thesis, I was lucky enough to win the Outstanding Designer and Outstanding Portfolio
Congratulations.
Thank you, award. And then, so in my junior year, I connected with Abercrombie & Fitch and interned there out in Columbus, Ohio. They brought me back on full time to work on the kids brand, doing boys outerwear and accessories. And I spent 3 years there out in Ohio after graduation, where I worked on a couple different types of product, but the bulk of it was spent doing fleece design, which was actually a great space to cut my teeth in, especially during the pandemic, because comfy dressing was so important. Stay at home aesthetics were important. So I got a lot of great experience out there. At the 3-year mark, I decided that I want to move back to the East Coast. I'm from Washington, D.C. originally, so I have a lot of family and pull there. Also, I think Manhattan is the heart of a lot of this stuff. So I got a position at G3 doing men's outerwear for Guess and Kenneth Cole, and then after 9 months working on those divisions, I transitioned to Andrew Marc, where I'm working right now doing men's outerwear.
So with your role at Andrew Marc in mind, what does innovation look like to you?
I think from a product standpoint and thinking about what is innovative in clothing, I think one thing I like to acknowledge in all of my creative work is that we stand on the shoulders of giants. There are have been thousands of fashion designers that precede you when you in 2024 are trying to come up with a new shirt, a new jacket, a new pair of pants. And so to me, innovation is about listening and trying to understand what your contemporary customer, your 2024 person needs in clothing, and it's all about listening. And I think it's really a dialogue between you and the customer, because I think a lot of creatives can relax at the fact that you're not going to reinvent the wheel every single time you do something design, but I think it's very meaningful and deliberate steps forward. You get to see, you do research based on whatever product category you're working in. I work in outerwear, so it's you understand what it is to make in history to make good outerwear, whether it's something for the weather, something just to finish the outfit, and then you kind of redefine your perspective based on the wants and needs of your customer. And I think a good example of this was when I was working at Abercrombie. So in the fleece division, we were really focused on how can we create especially I was working on kids products. How can we work on something that they've never seen before that really speaks to the customer? And during this time, it was during the pandemic, and one of the big customer mindsets at the time was gaming. The kids are at home, they're spending a lot of time just on the couch playing video games. Through this series of focus groups with them. We spoke to kids, asked them like, what are your end uses? What are the things that you, and not in those words, of course, but like, what are the things that you like are looking for? Like, what are the things you do when you're gaming, this is a huge customer mindset for us. On the back of these conversations, we identified that they want something super cozy. They, often snack, they have other things in their hands while they're playing, and then they often, put their headphones on, while they're playing, while they're gaming. So we developed this program called the Gamer Hoodie that ended up being one of the biggest item in the brand for that fall 2021 time period, where it was all designed around this end use. So and in its look, it was, just another active kind of looking hoodie, but in the way that we messaged it was, we had this zipper pocket that we like branded on the garment, like controller pocket. And in the marketing, we talked about how you can use it to store your controller when you're moving around the house. You can use it as a secondary pocket for snacks. We then, worked with our really soft fleece and had little cozy details like thumb holes for, those cold mornings when you're gaming. And then we focused on the hood construction to make sure that when our customer was wearing their headphones, we opened up the hood so that it could fit over. In the spirit of this, like a super energetic gaming adjacent palette, so we introduced kind of neon pops, kind of digital inspired graphics and all over patterns. So in a way, like the hoodie was, a hoodie with a zipper pocket, thumb holes, and a big hood, but in the way that we marketed it and messaged it really spoke to the customer. And that was kind of the innovation, was that we're not reinventing the things that you love in a way that is confusing and will kind of be hard to understand, but we're kind of meeting you where you are. We're listening to your needs, and here's our offering to kind of try and solve some of your problems. So I think for me, it's all about like approaching the design from a what if standpoint, and like listening. What if we created something that's for this very specific customer, and what does that look like? So I think it all starts with these like leading questions, and whether your innovation is huge, massive thing like, a new product category, or something small like, just optimizing something that you normally offer to your demographic.
Yeah, that's an amazing way to look at it, because I think a lot of students going into the industry, when they think of innovation, they think they have to reinvent, the whole industry, and that's the only way you're gonna, get your word out there, because that's what the news is. Look at Business of Fashion, look at any fashion publication. If a student's, being called out, it's because they are reinventing the wheel. And so I think it's really important to know that once you get in this industry, it's not all about that. It's, like you said, in the example, it's redesigning a sweatshirt for kids that like a specific customer that you're selling to, and it's important to know that you don't need to change the whole industry to get into it. The whole industry is just making one product or one SKU that much better for your customer.
Yeah, and I think there's like a lot of cross sections to it. There's a lot of approaches. I think when you're in school, I think your resources are more limited. So a lot of the things, a lot of the innovations come in more drastic but like easy to control spaces, like silhouette. Like silhouette, I feel like when I see student work, and even my own work when I was a student, it's all about how can we push shape and form, because that's kind of the most access you have. Everybody who makes clothes and is in that kind of making space in school will have certain training for sewing, and so I think that you often can do the most there, because materials are, good materials are harder to come by because you don't have like a lot of money behind you or corporate backing or relationships. But once you get into the industry, I think there's this greater space of like, there are people working all around you to innovate in their separate fields. It's just a matter of how you tap into those resources and make it relevant to the people you're trying to speak to.
Absolutely.
So whether it's like I said, whether it's end use, it's material innovation, it could be silhouette. But I think once you're in the greater marketplace, there's a much more discerning eye, and there's much greater demand. If you want to do drastic innovations like that, I think the success is defined by those drastic innovations that really hit on something that people want. What people want will educate how they spend their money, and spending their money will be able to fuel further innovation that you're working on.
Absolutely. So the fashion industry is always evolving. How do you and your team foster creativity and always keep innovation, new?
I think a lot of the through lines that I think about is just it's about listening and being in touch. As a designer, I think you have to be on the forefront of. You have to know what your customer wants before they want them, and I think that for me, it means that you're just spending time and pursuing your interests. And I mean, sometimes your interests will develop in league and aligned with what you're trying to do professionally, but to me, it's about interacting with people. It's about trying to expose yourself to new ideas in all the various spheres. So for me, it's from a product point of view, it's going into cool stores, looking at brands that I really like, and seeing what they're doing, and it's hard. It's a fine line as a designer to separate what's influencing you from the actual end product. I think there's a lot of discourse going on right now about copy culture, and in many businesses, a lot of them are based off that, but I think that you can be inspired and influenced by, other people's work without completely copying it. And I think as a designer, as a merchandiser, as anyone who's involved with the product cycle, I hope that is one's aspiration, is to, see the world and then make something new for the world. And so for me, it's the little things. It's going to stores, looking at cool things, spending time online, seeing what people are interested in, and then engaging with culture in a broader context. And I love to watch films. I love to go to the cinema. So I love that's one of the conduits in which I experience culture. And then I think just having a curious ear, talking to people about what they like, what they're passionate about. You never know how it will inform the way you think about things later, whether it's through design or even just decision making. So I think for me, it's trying to continue to cultivate an open mind. And I am kind of at the product design level where I'm not so high level, I'm not in a creative director position, but it's I think it's also hoping that you can try and find people, creative directors, leadership people who encourage the same things. And I think what a lot of people at the more junior positions, when they're coming out of school or when they're early in their career, they aren't as discerning in a race to get experience. They're not as discerning with the people that they start to work with. And I think to a certain extent, I am so pro getting your job experience from wherever you can get it. But I think as you start to get traction and start to be in the industry, it's all about who you surround yourself with and trying to find those people who inspire you and who will introduce you to things.
Absolutely. And as a senior, and I think a lot of my senior class can relate to this, we obviously want to get into the industry as soon as we can.
Yeah.
But do we care more about getting a job ASAP, or do we care about getting a job that we actually, might want to see ourselves in 30 years?
Yeah.
And so I think we don't want to be, beggars can't be choosers, but we also don't want to go to a job for, the first couple of years of our career that we're just kind of, going through the process and whatever. So I think that's definitely something to take into consideration. That's kind of a problem that we're all kind of facing.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I think there is a part of me that wants to encourage you to, if you're an early graduate, to go out and get that experience, whatever it is, and have a fluid understanding of yourself, so that because you never know what you can apply your skills to do, and what someone will pay you and cultivate you to do. But I think a drop of discernment in the people, and like trust your gut instincts. If you can, try and find people that inspire you. Try and find people that you can see yourself in, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like for the 30-year stretch, but once again, follow the inspiration. The spark is a moving target.
Absolutely. What would you say to fashion designers right now going into the industry who want to make a path for themselves through innovation?
Follow your interests. Try and find things that inspire you. Innovation, to me, comes from introducing new perspectives to established things. We live in such like a multi-hyphenated world where everything is influenced by everything. It's good, especially like as a designer, it's good for me to, work on a specific thing, work on product, and then go away. And I think that a lot of the times, like, you may discount your own interests if, like, you're an outerwear designer who likes to, snowboard, or an outerwear designer who likes to do pottery. It's like these interests will inform your work in a way that you could never imagine, just because once you start creating this like potent brew of art, design, and like communication, it all just starts to like come together. Like maybe you design the jacket that its color or fabric treatment is inspired by the way you glaze a pot. As like a person who lives in the US, who lives in the Northeast, there's thousands of people like you. Hundreds of thousands of people like you with similar experiences, similar backgrounds. So it stands to reason that if you think something is cool and can be applied in an innovative way to what you're doing professionally or artistically, that other people might resonate with other people.
Absolutely. That's really cool that you bring that up in a design aspect, because that's kind of what the show's all about this year, is that we may think we're different or out of place or whatever, but we're all kind of thinking the exact same thing at the end of the day. We're all going home, we're all going to bed and waking up the next morning, so that's really cool that you bring that up. Yeah,
I think like my like final thought about it is just like you should never discount the value of just like this universal human experience. It's
Absolutely.
Like we may come from different places, but there will always be through lines.
I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't thank you enough for making your way from the city to come and speak with us today. Thank you so much, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Sarah.
Of course. So for each episode of String Theory, I am inviting two of my fellow co-directors, and today I'm joined with the branding team, Maddie and Aidan. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Of course. So today we are talking all about innovation, one of our pillars, and of course how we all on the team and in the class interlink with each other. So first I'm going to have each of you go. Maddie, we'll start with you. How did you get into the class, and tell me about your road to directorship?
Yeah, of course. Well, I first saw the show when I was a freshman, and I decided that I was really into the concept and being able to work on like a student-run fashion show. And then sophomore year I applied and I got onto the branding team. That year I was just a coordinator. I don't remember my title, but it was very just like basic.
Branding coordinator.
Yeah, branding coordinator. I was the floater of the group. And then my second year I was the digital branding assistant, and then now I'm the logistics branding director. So it's been a really cool experience. I've learned a lot on both the digital side and also now the event planning side. So it's really great to apply all these things into the real world, and learning all these great things from the experiential classes really helped me do that.
And Aidan, how about you? Tell me about your time in SNR.
My time in SNR, me and our fellow director Archie, our mutual friend Ale, who was a former creative director, encouraged us both to apply for the class, and haven't looked back since, really.
Yeah.
It's been very quick 3 years in SNR. It really flies by.
Yeah, for sure. So Maddie, as the branding logistics director, it is kind of your responsibility to plan our event. So that includes the theme launch event, the Payne Mansion brunch, and of course the Fashion Fest, which is a bit later on in the semester. So tell me about how that responsibility has been for you.
It's been a lot, but a really great journey, I guess. We started with our launch event this year, which was super successful. It was our first ever launch event. So that was really great. We had a great turnout. Planning the events is a lot of work, but thankfully I have a great team.
Because there's so much stuff that people wouldn't think is part of the planning.
There's a lot going behind it. So with our first launch event, we had to deal with contracts that went with the academy, all that kind of stuff that went behind that. So then you're teaching the members of our team how to do that and how to handle that, reading through the contracts, making sure everything's correct.
You know what you're signing, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. You don't want to like sign something that you don't know what's going to go into it. But yeah, so like each of my team members handle different kinds of things. Sometimes it starts with like simple as emails, and then it'll go into planning like interactive elements to our events and stuff like that. And then that also ties in with day of show. We handle front of house and the turf room and everything like that. So a lot of those ideas like become noticed, and we start like working harder and harder to make them come to life.
Yeah.
And it's a really rewarding experience. Something that's really great about it is that like you get to see everybody go to these events and like experience them. And since they know that like the branding team handles and stuff like that, people come up to you and they're like, this was such a great event, like I loved coming, blah, blah, blah. And it feels really great to know that people really enjoy what we're doing. And we know it's hard to have people come to events on campus that pertain to school, but this is something that we want to make it like fun and interactive, and it's really rewarding. It's fun.
Yeah, and talk about things you didn't even know. There was a signature SNR drink, and you had installations, and you had monitors, and you had this, that, and the other thing. And
yeah, exactly.
As much as it is just getting there, it's everything else that goes with it.
Definitely. And the best part about it too is that branding is always interacting with different teams and stuff like that. So like for instance, creative, Archie and his team made the theme launch video that we had. And they help us throughout the semester really with a lot of different things. Same thing with comm. We're working with comm all the time to help promote our events and stuff like that. So it all interlinks and we're all working together to make one show, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So today's episode is all about innovation. How do you see innovation playing a part in your day-to-day activities as a branding logistics director?
Innovation is really important when it comes to SNR as a whole. So a lot of our different teams handle this, but for instance with the event side of it, our team really started planning out interactive elements to incorporate into our events every single year now. So for example, the theme launch event, we designed this interactive board that basically started with thread and nails, and you would start at one point and circle around different parts of like your life that you connect with, and at the end it asked you, did your thread cross paths with anybody else? And obviously it did, because it would be totally unlikely that it didn't. So it was kind of just this element of having people interact before the theme was launched, having everybody come in. It was super successful. Everybody kind of like grabbed their thread and did it all. And you would spend the rest of the night being like, why did I fill this out? Like, why did I do it? And then the theme launch video came out, and it kind of all interlinked and like intertwined with each other. So whenever I think of innovation, I think of things that are like digitally and stuff like that. But I think with event planning, a lot of our elements that are innovative would say that are interactive. So a lot of stuff that we're planning for front of house this year and for Fashion Fest and stuff like that are very interactive and trying to get all the guests hands-on experiences so that they can remember it and take something away from it.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've been brainstorming a lot about, coming up with new and innovative ideas. So
yeah, and it was super cool. The installation, it was built in our garage.
Oh my
Maddie
gosh,
and I live together.
We do live together.
We, our house has kind of been coined the SNR house because we've been at the house for the past 2 years, or the past 2 SNR seasons.
A lot of projects.
It was built in our garage, so all I saw was this big whiteboard with nails, and it was delivered back to our garage.
It was.
And it was all these different twines and different strings, and it was cool to see it, like...
It's still set up in the garage if you take a look.
And it will be until day of show.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Aidan, you work on the digital side of branding, and that's lookbook, merchandise, event promotion, that type of stuff. But one of your main jobs this year was the creation of SNR38 merchandise. So tell me how innovation worked into that. Tell me about your process with that.
So yeah, at the beginning of the merch process, I just thought back to speaking with Becca and all the directors prior to the semester starting, and how natural pathways seemed like a kind of a reference we could go to with this theme, and that lent itself to a lot of our graphic work, the line work in like everyone's hands, and how we all have these, naturally occurring lines in our hands, and how everyone's is different, but we all have them. Led me to think about like maps and how lines on maps are naturally occurring and all cross and interconnect with each other. So in terms of the process and development of the merch, we always start with a pretty decent sized group as a committee, people from all different teams in the class come together and share their ideas, and it kind of just works as a big group critique at the start. And with the big group, it helps because people could have ideas that you would have never thought of.
Yeah, just throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then as you progress, you kind of get to like a really small group of people. It really ends up being people on the branding team.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very long process, but it is very rewarding, and I hope that the people on our team who were, seeing it out till the very end understand that and like can, really be proud of what it's become, because, at the end it's awesome to see. And
Absolutely.
especially when it gets, in people's hands and people start wearing it, that's even better. So.
Absolutely. And you work with Emporium to do the merch.
Yes, they were fantastic help.
Yeah.
None of it gets done without them.
Shout out to Emporium.
Yeah, shout out to
Thank you.
Emporium.
Love Emporium.
So just as a whole, how do you see innovation playing a role in the digital side of branding?
Really, every year we're looking for new ways to promote. The more like eye-catching your promotions are, whether it's merch or how you promote an event or the lookbook, like, the more eye-catching it is, and if it's something people have never seen before, like, that just bodes well for you at the end of the day. And we're constantly looking for new ways to innovate. Not to say too much, but I know the lookbook will be looking a bit different this year. So
Excited.
everyone be excited for that.
Yeah, I think we create like a really great, like encouraging environment. I think like we're very open to people coming to us with ideas and just creating that inviting group so that people feel comfortable coming up with different things and sharing their own opinions about stuff. I mean, if we have an idea and someone doesn't like it, they're very comfortable with telling us that they don't, which is a great thing.
And I think it's super important, not just in specific teams, but the whole class in general. Because
Definitely.
if you don't feel comfortable around these people week
You're
of
never
show,
going to get anything done.
1, you're not going to get anything done. 2, you're not going to want to get anything
No,
done.
exactly.
And 3, week of show when we're spending 24/7 together.
Yeah.
Very true.
You want it to be fun. You want to giggle because
Exactly.
it's midnight.
Yeah.
And I think like with branding specifically, we have a ton of stuff leading up to day of show that like gives us that opportunity to hang out more and like really get to know each other more on like outside of the workplace, I guess. So like having that comfortable environment is super, super important.
Yeah. Okay, so for the end of each episode, we have this segment called Can You Explain This, where I got photos of both of you in maybe not super flattering angles.
Excuse me.
Well, you'll see. And I ask you, can you explain that? So, Maddie, you're going to go first.
Oh, good.
And none of these are
Should we-
super, super bad.
Oh!
We have this
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Hey.
And, Maddie, can you explain this photo?
Oh my god, yeah, of course. So I believe this was taken in the Maker Lab. It was during the lookbook weekend. Definitely sleep deprived in that image.
This is maybe 2 weeks out from day of show.
Yes,
so
2
we
weeks
are
after day of show. We were like
eating,
in
breathing,
the,
sleeping, SNR.
Exactly.
Yep.
We were in the midst of like planning everything for front of house and stuff like that, and then lookbook was just that other like addition onto the weekend. Yeah, we had Avonlea, our past director. She had a fisheye lens, and she was going around taking like B-roll.
Obviously,
Obviously,
I'm gonna try
I had in it.
Yeah.
Obviously.
See?
So I was the test person, and I took this beautiful photo.
Yeah. Can we get Aidan's photo? There it is. There he is.
Yeah.
Aidan, can you explain this photo?
Yeah, first year of SNR, and I wanted a caricature. Thank you, Andrew, for the caricature. I still have that in my room.
We have to get a frame for it.
Right now.
It looks like
Yeah.
Aidan.
And it looks like Aidan. All right, well, this has been so much fun. Thank you both for coming. I can't thank you guys enough. We've been together for almost 3 years now, and I wouldn't want to be...
With anybody
Oh,
else.
four, yes. But in SNR terms, 3
Yes,
years.
of course.
And I couldn't imagine anyone else to do it next to.
Thanks for having us again.
Of course,
Sarah.
of course. Be sure to subscribe to Silver Needle Runway on Instagram and TikTok for more of Maddie and Aidan and more of the team in general. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.